Today I'm reading an interview. We are interviewing a gentleman by the name of Hilal, who's age 40. He is a male and he lives in the country of Oman. All right, first question. Where were you born and where do you live now? I was born in Mutra in the Muscat province of Oman. I currently live in Sib, Oman, about 60 kilometers or 37 miles away from where I was born. Question number two. Describe a typical day during the week. My alarm goes off at 6 a.m. By the time the sun has come up, I start my day with a terrible habit, a cup of coffee and a cigarette. I shower and get dressed in my wazar, dish dasha and musar. A wazar is a white sarong-like wrap that goes under the long-sleeved ankle-length thobe or robe known as a dish dasha, and musar is the colorful turban that is strategically folded around the head. From region to region, the style of turban wearing is different, making a person's origin known. After a 30-minute drive, I arrive at work just before 7:30 a.m. I have an office job and spend a lot of my day dealing with people. Like at all government institutions, I finish work at 2:30 p.m. and head home for some lunch and an afternoon nap in front of the television. I love watching the Discovery Channel. By 6 p.m., I wake up, run some errands, work in my garden, or do repairs around the house that are necessary. I sometimes go and visit my friends. I eat dinner at about 10 p.m. and usually go to bed before midnight. Question number three. Do you identify strongly with a particular ethnic group? I am an Arabic-speaking, brown-skinned Muslim Omani, as are all Omanis. Being Omani instills a significant amount of pride in oneself without ever having done anything special in life. To be Omani is enough. We believe that Omanis are the friendliest and most hospitable people, and because we believe this to be true, it just comes naturally. Our families are larger than most, and this creates a very important sense of belonging. For example, I am number 9 of 11 children, all born to the same mother and father. Being lonely is a foreign and vague concept to us. To be Omani means to be part of a functioning and happy community, and this is far more valuable than being a successful individual. When times are tough or you need any kind of help, your family will always be there for you. This is something one never has to worry about. Question 4. What languages do you speak? My first language is Arabic. My family speaks a very old dialect of Omani Arabic. We have resided in Mutra for over 5 generations, and this dialect is specific to the area. Back in the day, many men came to Mutra from all over the Sultanate in search of prosperity. Mutra is a port city and played a big part in the trades between East and Africa. Omanis would make their way to the harbor village to find work and purchase goods to sell back in their regions. Growing up, my father worked with Indian people on a daily basis, so all my brothers and I are able to speak Hindu fluently. I learned some English in school, but acquired most of my English language skills in America, where I went to university. I did a full year of just English before actually starting the degree program. I also stayed on to work for a few years after finishing my studies. Question number 5. What role does religion play in your life? Religion is deeply interwoven in our lives. 5 times a day, you will hear the call to prayer reverberating through the bustling city streets, over desert sands, in every village, into every crevice of the country. Even if one cannot get to a mosque, we roll a mat out to face Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and say our prayers. Our language is strung together with religious phrases and proverbs. Because of this, Islam is constantly in our thoughts. As a Muslim, for one lunar month of the year, we fast from sunrise to sunset. This is known as the holy month of Ramadan. People are particularly conservative at this time and take the opportunity to get closer to God. To mark the end of this period, we have a 3-day celebration called Eid al-Fitr. Different tribes have their own customs, but for all, it is a time for family, food, and if you are fortunate enough to afford it, a time to sacrifice animals. The meat is enjoyed by the family and distributed among the poor. Roughly 40 days later, we have Eid al-Adha, celebrated with much the same ceremony. Question 6. Describe your meal times. When we were children, we would start the day off with thin Arabic bread, cheese spread, and fruit. We would be given a couple of hundred baizat, Omani coinage, to buy a snack at school. These days, I don't bother with breakfast most mornings, but I can't function without my coffee. Lunch is the main meal of the day for Omanis. We always eat rice for lunch, and a lot of it. Most days, it is accompanied by fish, sometimes chicken, beef, or goat meat, salad, and yogurt. Meals are all served on a large plate, which we all gather around to eat from on the floor. We help ourselves using our right hand only. When we have larger groups, the men and women sit separately. If it's just a few of us, we all sit together. Lunches at my parents' home are often large and cooked fresh every day, while at my home, we just have a sandwich or leftovers. We are always welcome to and often do join the family at my parents' home for lunch. Question 7. What is your favorite food? My favorite food is rice and fish, and I know that many Omanis would say the same thing. Oman has a wonderful variety of fish, and many aspiring and happy fishermen can be seen bobbing over the waves from the earliest hours of the day. You can go to the local outdoor fish market to buy what you want fresh off the boats, but you have to get there early as they are very popular. We usually boil the fish in spiced water and serve it with rice, salad, and pickles. We eat white rice for lunch every day and have many different ways of preparing it. Sometimes we fry onions to put in the rice, other times we add chickpeas or dal, Indian lentils. Omanis take the preparation of rice very seriously, flavoring it with cardamom pods, black peppercorns, and for a special dish called biryani, we add all of the above plus saffron, tomatoes, and rose water. We also eat fresh green chili and often finish it off with yogurt, dates, and Omani coffee. The coffee is a lot like Turkish coffee, very strong, packed with cardamom, and drunk from small, handless cups. Question 8. What is your role in your family? In my family, I'm the youngest son. Because of this, I am expected to help my parents more, not financially, but with running errands and doing bits and pieces around the house. For years, I would accompany my father to the fruit market every Friday morning at the crack of dawn. Now that my father is getting on, he sends the driver instead. Every week, I am expected to drive to our 3 farms to collect milk and other produce and deliver it to the family. During celebrations, they rely heavily on me for organizing furniture, food, and sacrificial animals, if need be. My brothers are not called upon for these duties because they are older than me. I actually feel privileged to be needed so much by my family and do what they ask of me without hesitation. I am also a father and husband. I am fairly new to the father role and eagerly await the evolution of this relationship. My wife and I believe in equality. We both work, provide, cook, shop, and keep the house. Describe your home. My wife, small baby, and I live in a 4 bedroom house given to me by my father when I got married. It is double story with most of the living space downstairs, including a TV room, lounge, dining room, kitchen, laundry, and 2 bathrooms. Upstairs, there is a master bedroom with an suite bathroom and 3 bedrooms with another bathroom. There is also a small reading corner and office. We have a maid's quarter around the back of the house and a paved garden with trees and flower beds out front. We spend a lot of time out there in the winter having barbecues and entertaining guests. Omani homes often have 2 special features. The first is a majlis, or sitting area, which is covered with unexpectedly heavy cushions and rugs. Sometimes they have 2 separate rooms, one for the men and one for the women. Secondly, since Omani food often includes fish and highly aromatic spices, houses often boast an inside kitchen as well as an outside kitchen. Question 10. What do you do in your leisure time? Every Omani loves football, or soccer. When we won the Gulf Cup a few years ago, the following day was actually declared a national holiday. Where there's an open patch of land, there are people playing football. But I have grown out of this. These days, I spend a lot of time in my garden. I love gardening and will try my hand at growing almost anything. This season, we have managed to enjoy lemons, guavas, sweet potatoes, dates, and even some berries. We have 2 huge mango trees out back. When in season, we have so many mangoes, even after making chutneys and stuffing ourselves, we give them to neighbors. I also enjoy cooking. Some say my wife is a lucky lady, but I really do enjoy cooking, and my reviews have been mostly positive. I can cook anything from Mexican to Italian to Indian. The only thing that I cannot cook is small. If I am cooking, there will be enough to feed the whole village. I can't help it. Question 11. What holidays or events are most important to you? Eid al-Fitr is the holiday that marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan. We wake up with the first rays of the sun, put on our new outfits bought especially for the occasion, and head off to pray in the mosque. Then all the men will go and visit relatives to wish them a blessed and peaceful Eid, or holiday. The women do their rounds in the evening, then we go back home to enjoy lunch with my parents, all my brothers and sisters, their children, and anyone else who would like to join. There is a great atmosphere, and the level of excitement is at its peak when the children are given gifts. On the second morning, we sacrifice the animals, usually goat, but sometimes cow. We take what we need and then deliver the rest to people less fortunate. We clean up the meat, rub it with spices, wrap it up in banana leaves, and then bury it. A fire is lit around it, and it is left to cook overnight. Again, we have a big lunch together. Then on the third morning, we dig up the meat, which is now called showa or barbecue. We eat it with honey for breakfast and with rice and salad for lunch. On this day, it is all about the food, and we look forward to it every year. Question 12. How confident are you in your country's economy and your ability to make an adequate living? I am very confident in the economy of Oman. We are fortunate enough to have oil and gas beneath the surface of this beautiful land, the money from which provides stability for the country's economy. Our leaders have also acknowledged the fact that one day these resources could run dry or no longer be needed as technology advances and the search for more eco friendly fuel supplies continues. Because of this, they have started laying a foundation for tourism and trade. Ports and airports are being built to accommodate the expected passersby. We are also currently going through a transition in the workforce where jobs previously done by expatriates are being reserved for Omanis. I think that salaries are fair, but quite often people have large families to take care of, so the money doesn't go as far as they would like. My position within the government organization that I work for is very secure. I enjoy my job, make an adequate sum of money, and have no fear of this changing anytime soon. Question 13. How do you usually get around? I have a great big Chevy 4x4. My wife drives a Toyota RAV4. Cars are relatively affordable here, and petrol or gas is extremely cheap compared to other countries. The other day, I heard someone say that Omanis have an average of 3 cars per household. People generally don't walk because it gets way too hot in the summer. There's no train system in place, and buses are irregular. There are taxis, but they are not metered and can get rather expensive. Deaths due to car accidents have been a huge problem in Oman for many years. People drive fast and do not always take the necessary safety precautions, and young drivers do not take their driving seriously. Unfortunately, it is not uncommon to see small children sitting or standing on the front seat. There's a lot that needs to be done in terms of education to improve car accident statistics. Question 14. Was life different for you growing up in this country than it was for your parents? There's no comparison. Firstly, I was fortunate enough to receive an education. My father started selling pistachio nuts in the local market when he was 13 years old. His schooling took place under a tree and is mostly consisted of learning the Quran, or Muslim holy book. My mother still to this day cannot read or write. Secondly, we had electricity and running water, which my parents did not. There were no cars back then, so neither of my parents ever learned to drive. In contrast, I was driving at 16 and had been spoiled enough to own 9 cars before the age of 30. There was little to no medical care for my parents, and they often relied on natural remedies for healing. There were no hospitals, and as a result of lack of medical care, both my parents lost an eye at a young age due to infection. Unlike the majority of my siblings, I was born in a hospital. Today, we have a brilliant medical system in place that could easily compete with the best in the world. Question 15. What has been the most significant event in your life? An amazing event in my life was my wedding. We had 2 ceremonies, a typical Omani wedding and then the westernized white wedding. For our Omani wedding, the imam, or Muslim religious leader, from the mosque went to the bride's house, accompanied by myself and 2 witnesses. We went to speak with her father to ask permission and to ensure that the bride had consented to this marriage. Then the bride came to my family house dressed in a traditional Omani outfit, a long sleeved sequin dress that comes down to the shins with a pair of long pants underneath. Her hair was covered, her makeup was very detailed and beautiful, and then my sisters adorned her with gold. I wore the traditional white dishdasha with new sandals, a turban, and a thick belt, which held a kanja. Kanja is a curved dagger knife used back in the day for fighting, but today is worn to formal events. I also carried a very ornate walking stick, typical of Omani formal dress. All the men gathered in our guest house, where we had the official religious marriage ceremony known as the mulka, conducted by the imam. The bride is not present at this, although once it is over, she will be officially married. I then went to the house where she was covered completely by a veil and surrounded by the other women. I put my hand on her head, said some prayers, and then kissed her head. I lifted the veil and saw my wife looking back at me. We had a buffet dinner in the garden, and then we all danced into the night.